Okay, what we've got here is one of my favourite computers. In fact, my second favourite computer. This is my A3000, which I never had when... is it one of the only computers when I was actually using Amigas in the old day? I never actually had a 3000. I went from the 500 to the 1000. I had a 2000. I obviously had the Checkmate 1500s, which, you know, obviously the proper 1500s, not a silly Commodore thing. I had a 4000, a 1200, but I never actually had an Amiga 3000, and it was always my favourite Amiga because it was definitely the best looking. It was the successor to the 1000. Okay, I mean the 1000, without a doubt, one of the greatest computers ever made. But this was a really good successor. Zorro 3 bus, 25 megahertz over 30. This one's bog standard. It's just a 25 megahertz. So everything you're going to see is being done on a 25 megahertz. But it has got network card inside, and she's got a cyber vision inside. So she's pretty awesome. Next to another newer, slightly newer Amiga display, my X1000. But I have to say, I do love this 3000, and hopefully I'll show you why. Okay, let's get started on this. Now, a little bit of history, I suppose. Obviously the Amiga 1000, which was originally called the Amiga, came along, and it was absolutely groundbreaking. And then the 500 followed that, with the 2000. I can't remember actually which was first. Was the 2000? I think the 2000 came before the 500. That's right. The 2000 came after 1000 and 500. And the 2000 was an absolute workhorse. I mean, it was a thing that all the professionals used. The video toaster was put into it, and it really was the Amiga workhorse. So it would. Some of the things I'm going to say may seem a bit unfair to the 2000s, and I mean no disrespect, because it was an amazing piece of hardware. But even at the time, it wasn't my absolute dream machine, because it was basically a 1000 with slots and so on. So it didn't really push the Amiga any further on. Anyway, when the 3000 came along, to my mind, and this is my only, just my personal opinion, it kind of finished the first stage of the Amiga development off. It gave us a 32-bit processor, gave us a 32-bit bus. It enabled to turn the Amiga into a true workstation. Anyway, but it gave us an expanded, as I said, expanded bus. You could have faster cards, so all the software can communicate faster with the cards that were plugged into it. Everything happened quicker. The hard disk was a full SCSI disk, standard, even though the 2000s and the 500s used to have SCSI. It just seemed it's much snappier on the 3000s. So it's to me, I mean, this will get. I know people will say, "Oh, well, it didn't have AGA." Well, yeah, that came along later on. But I think having the graphics cards, I think the 3000 sometimes gets a little bit overlooked. Hence the reason for doing this video. And I prefer it to 4000, even though it's not got AGA. I do actually prefer it. It's much better looking, and I just love its bits. But I'm biased, so take it on that. Right, so I've got on here Magic Workbench, which makes the icons are much nicer, and so for example, you see all nice and colourful, and they were based on an 8-bit palette. Now, obviously, this is a 24-bit display. And so, for example, now this is running at 1024. It would run higher, but I find, to be honest, the 1024 suits this. It suits my monitor. If I'm honest, it suits this monitor. Now, I could put this on a modern LCD, but there's something nice about having a CRT, a big quality Sony CRT stuck on top of my 3000. I think it just kind of looks nice. You saw from the earlier little video shots of it. So we had lots of software. Now you can see here I've got Miami. Miami was our first. I think it was the first actually. There might have been one before that, but TCP/IP stack. You can see this is now online. So we can do lots of modern things. So for example, let me just show you iBrowse. If I open up iBrowse. Now remember, this is a 25 megahertz machine. not a 25 gigahertz machine. Alright, so things don't load up quite as quick. Yeah, okay, I go away. Right, so it doesn't have all the modern features, it doesn't have CSS and so on, so this is quite an old browser, but it still allows us to get on the internet and have a good look at quite a lot of the websites out there, especially the nicely designed sites that oh, have I got hang on, no, it's coming, there you go. Now the only thing with this was that it's got a processing JavaScript. It wasn't quick enough to process the JavaScript. People take for granted now with high speed processors nowadays, but of course some of this JavaScript that was in there was kind of heavy duty, so it could take a little while to do that. But there you see, if I can turn off, I can actually turn off JavaScript. So let's have a look at Amiga org and see what that one looks like. Again, one thing you have to realise is you do have to be a little bit more patient with these old girls. Yeah, see now they're not really Amiga org. Come on, guys. I mean, this is an Amiga here, funnily enough, and yours is not displaying very well. But there you go. People think we have to move on. Yeah, to be fair, the more modern Amigas have full. If you go on AROS, or if you go on Morphos, or if you go on to the Amiga OS 4, they have much more modern browsers, and they don't. And there might actually, to be fair, there might actually be a more modern browser, but I would think it would be struggling. But anyway, so there you go, browsing. So we can do it. There's also I've also got an FTP client. Well, you've got all the kind of tools that you need. But let me just turn this offline now. Okay, so we're done with that now. Right, so she's offline now. So you concentrate on what she's doing. Right, so let's look at some applications. AD Pro, which is a fantastic program. I use this all the time, and this was one of those programs that people used. I mean, this was just this was the professional program, and of course you would buy the fastest processor you can get your hands on to work on it. The best thing about this was batch processing, so you could build up a batch script, and you could process maybe 500 frames, turn them from one format to another, scale them, etc. I mean, I did the I don't know if you saw on my 81,000 video of J Minor video, and that I took that in and was scanned, and then I actually processed that one at a time. But now let me see if I can get a window on here. Here we go, window and workbench. Click that. Okay, now what I want to do is I actually want to scale this to 50%. Okay, and then I'll execute. So there was, I'll just scale this down, and I've got this in 8-bit. A window on. Here we go. Absolutely fantastic program that was. I mean, that was the workhorse. Anyone who actually did the graphics would know that AD Pro was something everybody had in their arsenal. Okay, so that's that. Right, now so we'll just show you how about we'll show you Lightwave. Okay, so let's double click on that. Okay, so here's Lightwave. Sorry about the flickering screen, but with CRTs, all that. Anyway, so Lightwave came out late 80s, late 80s. I think I was playing with Lightwave 87, something like that, 88. But anyway, so on my little 3000, remember she's not accelerated, so she's running at 25 megahertz here, and but we'll see how we get on with this. Right, so here's the main display of Lightwave with your control panel in the middle. This was absolutely fantastic when it first came out. People were absolutely amazed you can do this stuff in real time. Slightly different to what it is now, but a lot of the modern software owes a lot of the ideas from early programs like Lightwave, not just Lightwave, but like True Space, etc. So let's load up a scene. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load a scene, and I'm going to, it's the texture example. Okay, it takes a little while. Remember this, she's slightly old. Right, so there it is. Now let's just click on continue. Now I want to switch this into the, I'm in perspective view at the moment, so I can move around it like this and have a look. But you can't actually see that much because it's just some boxes with texture wraps on it. But if I click on the camera view, so this is the view we're supposed to be seeing. Now what I want is I want to render this, and then I'm going to come back later and I'm going to show you the results. But first of all I'm going to show you what we do. So in the record settings, I just need to turn on the save RGB. Okay, and put in a name there. I've actually, I think I might have even typed it in. No, I haven't. Right, so I just type in here texture. Okay, texture, and then click OK. So that's now set to record as a 24-bit IFF. And camera settings, so you can see, just to be double sure, I've got anti-aliasing turned off, mainly because obviously it would take quite some time to do this. So we can see the basic settings, but the custom resolution is 1024 by 768. Anyway, let's render that. Okay, now I want to do frame 1, just do it manual, and so you can see here it says RGB on, so just click OK. So now is the fun bit. And this is where these render farms, I used to have loads of Amigas set up, and they used to just be for rendering stations. Anyway, I'm going to pause this, and then I'm going to come back when it's done. This in true Blue Peter style. Okay, so now you can see a ham preview of the screenshot, but I'm actually want to show you the 24-bit version. But this is the 4096 color display that the Amiga had back in well, from 1985. This was outstanding to most computer users. They couldn't imagine this display being available. So 1 second and I will transfer you over to 24-bit. Okay, so that's a static texture fill, nice static image, but how about animations? So let's go to scene and we'll load up. Now, to be fair, most people who are doing this kind of work would invest in a faster processor. As I said, this is only a 25 megahertz O30, and when the 3000 came out, people were already sticking 40 megahertz O30s and so on. And ultimately, what happened around the time was when the O40 came out, it made such a massive. Click on the button and shut up. It made such a big difference to the performance of the system in every aspect. Anyway, so here you can see we've got the jet fighters. Now what I'll do is I'll scroll through a few of these frames. Alright, just a quick, so you can see the basic as it's coming through. This is the animation that's being created here. If I hold it a second, you can see the ships. Now with the O40s with the high-speed FPUs, the transition from the box to the actual wire frame, as in that, would be almost instant. But obviously the Polygon 030 without because it didn't have an FPU on this system. That's a floating point unit for those that don't know. So of course that was massively accelerated by this. But the fact that you could do this anyway and build this, I mean, this, I believe this was actually done around the time of the O30s anyway. So if I click on that, you can see there's the animation. Yeah, so you can see that. Now what I'll do is I'm going now what that that's frame 200. Let's see if we can go back and find a frame maybe a little bit more interesting, and what I'll do is I'll render that. Yeah, okay, what we'll do is we'll render this one. So that's frame 179. So I'm going to set this the same thing again. I'm going to render. Oh no, it's turned it off because let me just go back in and turn on the. Let's get the right one, shall we? Turn on the RGB because I want to save that in high quality. I've already got Space Fight. I did a couple earlier, so let me rub that out. Okay, continue. Now I want frame 179. So if I type in here 179, otherwise it would just go off and render the entire animation, which on this might take a week. It was amazing actually the amount of time you was prepared to wait for these animations to be finished. Right, so I've got my RGB on, so let's click on. That will now render that, and again we will come back to this. I'll pause this now. Okay, so how about if we have a look at Brilliance, another great program. So let's double click on that. Okay, here's a program I absolutely loved. Most people use dpaint. Dpaint was an absolutely fantastic program. However, there was another one came along called Brilliance. Now, the 3000 was not AGA, so you cannot get the 256 colours and the ham8 mode, which was like 250,000 colours on the screen. But it was absolutely fantastic to use and really showed off what the Amiga was capable of. Now I'm going to show you a very, very quick demonstration, something I've kind of preset, but hopefully it's going to work out okay. What I've done is I've preloaded a picture that was actually from dpaint. Now dpaint could do this stuff as well. They were both as powerful. So I just liked Brilliance. Again, I was no use at it, but it's the one I tended to use. Right, so I've got this picture, and I'm just going to cut out a small brush of it. I'm just going to cut a small piece out. Okay, then I'm going to clear. Now I've got 25 frames in the animations. No, I haven't actually. Proceed. Right, let me just double check how many frames I have got set here. Yeah, I've got 26 frames. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click on the animation. Now I've already preset this up, so my start ends in one part and my end is in another end. And so you can see here with the start and the end. Okay, I can do a quick preview. There you go. So that's going to do that with that piece of that clip that I've cut out. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll draw this. Now obviously the faster machine you have, the faster it will do this, but you can spend quite a lot of time building these sequences up. And in dpaint, in perspective, and you can see this is a perspective roll, they used to create some amazing animations based on this. So now we've got that, let's click that so you can see it's flying off. Now that's a really uninspiring piece of animation, but hopefully what it will show you is just what the Amiga's capable of. I can scroll backwards and forwards with it. And of course I used to put these down onto tape, but usually this would be done with logos. But yeah, so this is what the Amiga was really good at, was creating animation. So that's just a brief look, but Brilliance is, well, as the name, it literally lived up to the name, which very few programs did. Right, so sound sampling, that's obviously very important to people. So let's have a look at the sound sampling tool. Right, another thing about the Amigas, well, you know, we had a great loads of sampling packages because the Amiga had proper sampled sound, 8-bit high quality stereo sound recording, and so you needed samplers, and the Amiga must have been nearly getting on for a dozen different kinds of samplers that plugged in on the parallel port. Some of the more later versions plugged in on internally, but they were 16-bit samplers as they got a bit further down the line. But most of us cut our teeth on 8-bit samplers. Now this is probably one of the best ones, which is the GBP. A lot of people are going to have their favourites, so I'm not. Forgive me if I've insulted your sampler. They all basically were pretty good, but this had a module builder, so you can see I'm actually in module mode here. Unfortunately, I don't have any samplers, but this can create and save samples. It's also got MIDI. It's got loads of stuff built into this. There's my sampler. Now let's go into sample. Now I haven't got the sampler plugged in because I was obviously using DCTV, but to give you an example of what it was capable of, let's have some sound effects here. So let's see, lapping water. It's not bad, is it? Now about one of these. Now people obviously use these all the time for their, because the Amiga was massive with music. So they used these to do their samples, and then they would use usually Octamed, funnily enough, which is one of the most popular. For creating modules. Some amazing Amiga music out there in the world, and it's still around. Anyway, let's listen to this one. A nice stereo sample there. So of course you could obviously edit the thing, and you could, you know, I haven't got time to go into how you actually use the software, but you could edit this thing. But these are some fantastic samples. Let me see what else have we got here. Oh, there you go. So anyway, sampling. What more can you say? But you know, the Amiga was massive with graphics and sound. It was absolutely fantastic. Okay, before we had 24-bit displays, graphics cards, and we all took that all totally for granted. People were trying to figure out a way of converting the Amiga to do a 24-bit display. And the usual way obviously would be to do a frame buffer, but they were so unbelievably expensive. Anyway, so some bright sparks, a company called Digital Creations, created a product called DCTV. Now there was also another one called Ham-E, which I actually thought was in some ways superior, and which modified the ham to give a Ham 8 version instead of a Ham 6. So instead of 4096, it had 256,000 colours. DCTV did it a different way. What they did was they created from a 16 colour Amiga display, they created an NTSC composite TV signal. Don't ask me how they did it. It was mild genius. When I was selling Ham-E, I used to get really frustrated, but it was actually very good, and they did some fantastic things with animations. In fact, the CDTV had an animation. Anyway, let's get on with it. Enough of the history. Right, so here's the DCTV panel, the PAL version. Now I have a PAL version, which is actually quite rare because they really sold massively in NTSC, but this is a PAL version. Anyway, main control panel. So what we've got here, we've got a digitize button. Now I've actually set something up to digitize. So we'll click on the digitize. You can see we've got lots of settings here, but I'll do it in a nice high quality light, etc. And I'll do a scan. Now it's not like nowadays where you just press a button instantly you captured it. Back in the day, it used to be a slightly slower process, but this was actually probably one of the best because I forget what it's called now. Oh God, they're going to murder me. Nutex had an absolutely fantastic colour scanner which worked really well, but this was much easier for people to use. So you can see now I've captured that, okay, and I've got that in a 736 by whatever display. But you notice it's not very bright on the colours, so let's just bring the colours up a bit, and then we'll make that, and then we'll see what that looks like. See, it's coming a little bit brighter now. So you can play around with the colours as much as you like, and then let's see if we can bring up the sharpness a bit. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better, isn't it? Look at that. So you can play around with this to your heart's content. Now this relied on obviously having a good colour camera. Now I'm using my camcorder here, which obviously is good quality. Look at that. That's not too bad. If anything, the cup should be a bit more pink, but you could play around with this and get this right. With your your contrast and so on to fine tune it, but the actual quality, actually, to be fair, is quite nice. So what we'll do is we'll save that. Hang on, let's commit that. So we'll commit that to the buffer. Now this is a big thing because people had to do. The Amiga was, I believe, the first multimedia machine, and this was all about grabbing pictures, creating animations. I mean, you could do stop motion animation with this. I mean, you can see how easy this is. Move it, do another picture. Move it, do another picture. Move it, do another picture, and build up animation frames. People did an awful lot of great things with this. Right, so let's we'll save this now. I'm gonna put this in the same place. So one second. As the other images. So when I'm looking at the images, I'm looking at all the same place. Okay, let's do that, and then we'll put. Let's put scan. Is this we want to save this actually as 24-bit, so I'll call it 24 IFF. No, let's put a dot there, shall we? I don't need to put the IFF bit there, but actually I'll tell you what. Okay, let's save that. Now that's actually right now a 24-bit image, obviously, which is quite big. You can save this as compressed format of their, which I will actually do. I'll do a display version of this, which is basically a 16 color image, but it comes out as 24-bit. So let me save that as well as scan 24. Hang on, let's do that again, but this time we'll save it as a display, and then we'll change that to DCTV, so we know the difference. And later on I'll show you the difference. Now, if I want to, I can click on paint. Now I can go in and paint with it. It really was, you know, quite something. This. Oh, hang on, let's. Oh, oh, I forgot how to use this, haven't I? See that? See that? Let's do another one. Let's try and do another. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Let's get rid. I forget how you get rid of these now. God, can't you tell I haven't used this for a long time? There we go. Let's capture around there. Move that over there. Look at that. Great, isn't it? Anyway, you get the idea. Right. So that's DCTV. I must admit, it was absolutely. They also wrote the Brilliance paint program, which is absolutely stunning. But there you go. I've lost it. There you go. Amazing. Okay, let's just show you a couple of other things. Nothing really serious. I mean, we had the shell, obviously. Oh, can't spell shell, but there you go. So, but what I want to do is show you the editor. We had some nice editors on the Amiga. This one's called Signa CD, and it's the one I used to use. So if I go and find, for example, startup sequence. There we go. Let's just chuck that on there. There we go. So this is a really nice editor that we used to use, and yeah, it's fantastic, fantastic machine. I don't think I don't necessarily think it was. I don't know how many they sold, but what can I say? I mean, I absolutely love the machine, and it's it was my dream machine. Even when the 4000 came out. Just a final thing, one little final note. The 3000 was originally designed before the 4000 AG had come out. They had one called the 3000 AAA, 3000 Plus, I think it was called. There's only about 2 or 3 probably in the world, and I know that Henri Arcos, who you may remember or will know by his Arcos multimedia devices, he had one of them. And that had a AAA set, graphics chipset in it. Now that would have made this computer stunning. I'm still annoyed with the Commodore because they didn't release it because it was more advanced than AGA. But AGA came out and it did a not a bad job. It was nice, but it would never have competed with AAA. And that's, I think, part of the problem. They should have upgraded the 3000 fully and gone AAA. But there you go. Such is life. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that quick look through, and toodaloo.